Then over here in the front, I have a drawer that I made, which has all my router bits, my caliper. I have no dust collection. That's going to be one of the upgrades as soon as that is available. Here's where the router sits. Now, I bought one of the cheap pocket hole kits. I spent about $40 for it. Was it worth it? Absolutely. I've used it for a number of projects. As you can see, I used it in the construction of this. These are 2 pieces of plywood that are laminated together to give it some rigidity and to help keep the particle board flat. So I have a place here for the router. Then here I have my drill bits on this side. A few other tools. Again, pocket hole joinery holds that down, keeping this tabletop nice and flat. I continued the table saw has grooves in it here, which, there they are. They sit in there, they're kind of dark. Let me see about this one. Maybe you can see that one better. It just kind of sits in the crack there. Problem is right now it's held in place using these. The other two fell down and I can't get to them anymore. But underneath, I have a drawer to collect all the dust. There's a hole under the MDF here so all the dust can fall in. It is a bit of a pain in the butt. I built this early on in my woodworking journey, and this definitely needs an improvement. And then down below I have all my miscellaneous stuff that's related to the table saw. If you have a roll type bench, these chocks work pretty good, but you have to take and put sandpaper underneath. This is just one I kept because I've been meaning to redesign it. I'm actually going to take and get an old inner tube, and I'm going to take and epoxy some rubber to the bottom of these to help keep them in place. But the way these work is that the caster sits in there like this, keeping it from moving. The problem is I made it just a little bit too wide. I need to narrow it so that when I put the wood block here, it keeps that from moving. So, a lesson learned. Moving on, we'll walk around. Oh, by the way, this whole train sits using those same type casters. Every garage has these little V grooves, and the wheels get locked in them. What's my solution? Triangles. Just set your table saw to a 45-degree angle and cut your triangles. These are out of 3/4 inch stock. They sit in there, allowing the wheel to slide over it with no problem. Moving on. Alright, so here you have another box which contains all my bits and stuff. Early on in my developing stage, trying different things. You know, this one was made using miters with the mitering jig that's over there, which is going to be repurposed. And then I just drilled some holes. There's another piece of wood that sits in there. That way they can just fall in. That just sits in there. Originally this was for router bits. I even have a plexiglass top. But that was an old project. Oh, and here you have a place for your F-clamp to slide into, and it locks it down to the top. Keeps it from moving back and forth. The newest workbench here, which is really easy to make, incredibly easy. So let me try to walk you through this. So for starters, you got a 4x4 there, 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 and there. Okay? Now, these are real easy to connect, because if you got some 3/4 inch plywood, or in this case 11/16, let me walk around to the other side. You can, on the top one, I've got 5 screws, and then 4 screws down there, and then 3 screws going up each side. I used 2.5 inch screws, so it bites in there really good, and that's what holds the 4x4s together. There's no finish. All that's on these 4x4s is paste wax, and then I went back over it with a torch just to melt the paste wax back in. Here you have the French cleat system. That's this, where, there we go, where it's angled. This actually slides up, and it just locks it in place. These are the feet that are supposed to catch on a wall, but well, in this, on this side, it actually sits right on there, and that's what keeps everything flush. But actually, this board here is actually big enough for it to sit on and have plenty of support, with a dowel that was made on the router table, using a 3/4 1/2 inch roundover bit. Then I have, these are just handrails. You don't have to use these. You can simply use 2x4s. You drill a hole, you countersink, and I used the 3/8 16. I don't remember the length of it. Well, let's see, this is 4, and that's about 2, that's 6 or 7. Alright, so these are about 7 inches long. Just nuts and bolts. You got, it's on all 4. That's what holds the tops together. And you can use just normal 2x4 is fine. Now, down here, you have another nut and bolt that holds that center 2 pieces. That's a 1x4, and that's got a bolt and a nut on both sides. There's 2 of them, and then the top piece just sits there. Looking more underneath, all these dividers that are in there are made to just sit in there, and there's holes that I drill into the bench, what you saw, and these are all held in place, which allows for me to use F-clamps and clamp down any other board, any board that I need to. Then I have these half boards down here which lower the bed for freehand routing. And then of course we have the miter saw. The miter saw that I ended up getting was the DeWalt. It's just a compound, 10-inch compound miter saw. Why this I won't cheat on is because, get it where you can see it, these bolts that you see allows for you to move this plate, making it a perfect 90 degrees. Here I have a board that is 3.5 inches high, 4.25 inches deep. That's so I can still see the 45-degree angle. By doing this, and then I used a self-tapping screw here. This way I can keep this from coming down all the way. That's still another work in progress. I still gotta work some things out so that I can use it further. But this gives me zero clearance, so that makes lining up a board real easy. But I actually want to extend this out. This way I can clamp a block here, a stop block, and I can make repeatable cuts. I also want to make another base on the side so it supports the board. It's got to be at least 5 feet. But this is one of the workbenches that I made. I'm very happy with it. Here's one of my crosscut. Here's my crosscut sled that I made for it. I used DIY Creator. The guy is very intelligent. Check out his channel. I copied off of him. I'm getting ready to make another one because this one is not big enough for 2x4s. Because I'm getting ready to make another bench. Now, as I discussed earlier, so here is another router base that I made using the same method. See if you can see the holes. Got to get it in the right. You can see the holes using the same method. Here I used a hole cutter and then cleaned that out. If you watch, let me move this over here. Jay Bates and the Samurai Woodworker, they made a tenon jig. That's what this does. It's adjustable. When I used a 3/8 upcut spiral bit. Take your time with it. This stuff melts and destroys everything, unless you come up with a better way. But these just move back and forth, and tighten them up with a wing nut. Perfect for mortise and tenon. Hopefully, if you keep watching, you'll see me use this in one of my videos. This is another base made the same way. I just used it in one of my other videos. It's great for freehand routing. I still have this pile of wood that's got to get fixed. I'm going to use as much of it as I can, redesigning the shop. This, on the other hand, I really like this. This is held in place using the French cleat, and I just drilled some holes using one of the Forstner bits, and that's just a piece of 1-inch PVC, and then another piece of 1-inch metal rod. Works really good. These clamps, you can pick these up $1 a piece at Home Depot. A great deal. These things work good when you're gluing up smaller pieces, or you're trying to do something like bent lamination or whatever. Here I have another one for my F-clamps. Again, this is held in place using the French cleat. You can't really see it yet, but a French cleat system. This is just curtain rod cut to size. Works great for holding my F clamps, complete with a shelf on the top, which currently holds my earmuffs. This box, I was practicing some joinery, and whenever I was do stuff, I always find a way to throw it on there. And this is just my French cleat wall. Just got a bunch of miscellaneous stuff on it. You turn this sideways, maybe you can see. There you go. That's how the French cleat works. It virtually locks it into place, and then the foot you need to rest. All of my corbels that I make are made that way, unless I screw it in from the back like I did here. And then I just screwed the shelf onto the top of it, and then I put edge profile on it using the router table. This is held in place using the French cleat. Just something to hold the mirror. But if you keep watching, I'm getting ready to rebuild and redo the whole French cleat wall all together to make things a little bit more efficient, to help my workflow. All my chisels and my Dremel stuff, which really needs to be organized. A hole cutter, drill bits, just all this miscellaneous stuff just scattered just everywhere. Organized to the best I could, but now I'm ready to upgrade. Some raised panel doors with one of my photographs. Another raised panel door with a Dremel carving. There you go. Oh, I just spilled my coffee. So, here we are, we're back. I had just bought the Dremel tool. I was playing around with carving. I had seen a video on making a raised panel on a table saw. I wanted to experiment with it. I glued up some boards, practicing my joinery that I had seen in other videos. Here, I had seen some tool walls, and so that kind of got me started in creating stuff. This is, or was, one of my back plates for a router table that I'd made, which I no longer have. I upgraded. Here we have some beautiful box joints, which is on the router table. The wood was warped, but even though it's warped, it still turned out real well. I'll show you that jig in a moment. Here, one of my miters, trying to see how good I could get it on the table saw. Not so good, wasn't lined up right, whatever. Here's my first workbench, or real workbench that I made out of scrap wood. Some of it's kind of heavy duty. You know, I really like that. I had just saw some videos on torsion box and whatnot, and I have to admit that despite all of everything that's on here, it has maintained flatness. Here I have a pipe clamp vise that I learned how to make from Jay Bates, only this isn't built like his. It's not as strong because of the way I did it. I just wanted to get it done and make it clamped wherever I needed it. Here is a sandpaper box, kind of rough, just needed a place for all my sandpaper. Was getting tired of fussing through it. All of this getting ready to be modified. This bandsaw is a Harbor Freight bandsaw. It works really good. I got blessed. One of my neighbors had got it off of Craigslist and it wasn't working right. And so, and it didn't have the plate that goes in there. But this thing works really good. The bands inside of it were no good. So I took, and maybe I'll show it in another video, I just took the old, because they were dry rotted, took those out and just wrapped them with electrical tape. Here, it comes complete with a groove, and that groove makes it possible to make sleds. Just got to get your blade to line in there. I ran the blade in too fast, and so the blade kind of walked. That's why you can see how it tapers. And then I just use a clamp when I want to keep it steady. Here, I drew a protractor, and I can set a screw in there, and I can set the angle in there so I can make my angled cuts. Works pretty good. Here I took another Harbor Freight. I took one of Harbor Freight's clamps. Oh, how can I do this? Okay. Trying to get it to where you can see. I do apologize. I stuck some wood inside there. That's to stiffen all that up. Trying to do this one-handed. I'm not very good, but please bear with me in my poor video quality. I screwed in, there's 2 boards there, locks in there. I set up one of my combination squares or my 45 to make sure that everything is square, and then I tighten that up. That's a work in progress. Got to get better. One of my router table jigs. I don't know. Can you see that? Okay. One of my router table jigs. I was doing a bunch of dados, so that helped out. It was just a quick slap together. It works. Quick slap together straight edge jig for the table saw. This is a piece of 1/2 inch. It's warped now, so I don't really use it too much, but it was for making long cuts. Then of course all the wood and stuff, and then another makeshift bench, the Christmas tree, which I need to cover, and then you guys have already seen this. That's one of my corbels. This one, I have no dust collection. Dust is always flying around. This is done using a half lap. And then after I fit them together, I came back through, just trying to get the lighting just where you can see it. I came back through and I routed it together. This has got texturing on it from the wire brush, while this part is still smooth. Okay, holy mess. Looks like it's snowing in here. That's from all the dust. No dust collection. If you can afford it, do yourself a favor. Get dust collection. Look at all that dust. Bent lamination. I just pulled out one of the old cabinets and I've got dust everywhere. One of the things I saw was at Home Depot, they have the dust stopper. That's my next investment. All of this is getting changed. I'll pick that mess up in a moment. But my next project, I'm going to make a cabinet workbench right here. I'm going to use 2x4 construction, kind of like this. I'm going to have a 2x4 here and here. I only want, when all is said and done, I want 33 inches high total. That's with the top. So I'm going to make this at 31 3/4 inches. I'm going to make these at 18 inches. Then I'm going to take, I have this type of board. This is MDF with a white oak veneer. And I have a nice stockpile of it over there. And that's going to sit on from here to here. And then I'm going to take a 1 2x4, cut it in half, and then come one piece here, and then one piece here. Then I'm going to come back with the router, and I'm going to put a profile all the way around. For my bottom, I want it to be 3 inches up. So it's going to have a skin on both sides. This isn't going to be like this. This is actually going to be out here like this. And I'm planning on using 3-inch screws. Make sure it bites in enough. Or no, it won't be 3 inch. 2.5. Yeah, 2.5. Because I'm going to be using just regular 2x4. The other 2x4 is going to run here. And it's going to run from the edge of the tree. And I'm thinking to the edge of this cabinet. But I need to be able to get into the cabinet. So the cabinet here is 12 inches. So I'm going to make it 18 inches. So it's only going to sit out 6 inches more past the cabinet, which will allow for me to get in here, which is all my cleaning supply stuff and rags and glue and all that good stuff. So that's what I plan on doing. It's going to be stationary. It's not going to move. This will probably go here. I might get rid of it. I don't know yet. So I want a workbench. It's going to be 72 inches long, 18 inches deep, and 33 inches high. It's going to be my catch-all. I want to do Jeremy Smith, I believe his name is. Check my channel, Look in Furniture, you'll find it. He made a bench with a bunch of drawers. That's what I want to do. I have some 2x6s, all pallet wood, real rough, needs cleaning up. I've got some 1x6 over there that needs cleaning up. I have 2x4s, which still got, I have to take the nails out, clean those up. Which brings me to my next Harbor Freight gem, because all that needs to be cleaned up. Now, I have the orbital sander, but that'll take forever. I have the belt sander, but that sometimes leaves nasty grooves. But this is made by Drill Master. It's Harbor Freight. It costs about $40. You have a lock here, so you can change the pad to the polisher, but I always just keep it on the dust or sandpaper, so that's good. This has a variable speed, so you can change the speed. Once you turn it on, you can lock it in the on position here. You have Velcro paper that just Velcros on. You get the different grits. At the moment I have 240. An absolute gem. Save yourself a lot of sanding and a lot of work. Get one of these. But if you do yourself another favor and get the warranty. That always makes I burnt one out. I really put it through a test. Man, I used the crap out of it. Get the warranty. That way, when it goes, you can just replace it. And get the warranty again. It's definitely worth the money. Alright. So that's how I'm going to clean up all these boards. This is all my inventory stock that I'm going to be using for this build. This is all the stuff that's been cluttering up my garage, which I share with a vehicle. So all of this has got to get used as much as possible. Here, right here, is 1x4 pallet wood. And I'm going to use what I call the power sander there to clean it all up. Then, once I get it all cleaned up, I'm going to take it over here to the table saw, and I'm going to make cuts on both sides, make sure they're parallel. And then I'm going to come over here. Hopefully by then I'll have the other workbench or something where I need to make more support over here. I need a stop block so I can make all my size perfectly. I'll probably end up moving this down there, clamping it down, and then making a box that'll stretch the rest of the table, and that'll do for now. Well, thank you for watching. If you've stuck around this whole time, I definitely appreciate it. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and watch me as I go through my journey. I think I'm going to set this up so I can talk directly to you for the last couple of minutes, being that I am kind of long-winded. I do appreciate everybody that's sat back. I got the light shining on my face. It's kind of tough on my eyes, so bear with me. Thank you for watching. I've been woodworking now for, I want to say,